All right, guys, thank you for joining me this morning. So, let's get on with it today. Looking at, some bullshit. So, let's start out with the non related to anything going on in the world today, but the NFL ends all its COVID protocols immediately. So, these ridiculous protocols, guys, cost a lot of people their livelihood across the nation, not just here in New York, not just in the NFL, but across the nation, people lost their jobs over these stupid protocols, restrictions, and mandates, right? So, for example, Green Bay Packer Aaron Rodgers, who people were so mad about that he lied about being vaccinated. Like, he committed a fucking major crime by lying that he was vaccinated. That being said, guys, they put this guy through the ringer for not wanting to put something in his body that he didn't want. Right. With that, he also became an outspoken, I guess, advocate against being forced to take this shot. So that was pretty good on his behalf. But labeling the guy, like a liar and a killer and all this shit because he didn't want to get vaccinated was a bit much. It was a little like everything else in the world, heavy-handed. Buffalo Bills wide receiver Cole Beasley was also fined $100,000 for not taking the shot. So, uh, are these guys going to get back pay for missing games and or being fined? Right. So, in the case of the wide receiver Cole Beasley, is he going to get that $100,000 back because now they ended all the protocols? Which, keep in mind, nobody's life was at risk for refusing, not taking a shot. Now, I like that they beat that drum all over the world that if you didn't take it, you were risking other people's lives. But there was, in fact, no proof that somebody who didn't take the shot caused somebody else to pass away. So, hopefully, he can get his money back. I hope a lot of people can get a lot of things back, but that remains to be seen. Ending the protocols mean players will no longer be tested for infection regardless of their vaccination status. No more mask requirements at the office and facilities. No more compulsory tracking devices. I don't even know what the hell that meant. I don't know if they gave them tracking devices or they were using their phones. As are limited capacities at dining areas, gyms, meeting rooms, and social distancing restrictions will also be dropped as well. So, since the onset of the COVID pandemic, which was in early 2020, there has been zero documentation of any cases of transmission between players on the playing field or team facilities, and none of the players have died of COVID. Why? Because they were in absolute shape. That has been proven from time and time again. The better shape you are in, forget that part. 99.9% of the people survive COVID. Done. But if you were in better shape, you were absolutely not going to die from this, or in that case, get really sick. Again, there was a South Korean study that took 1,000 athletes, I think it was, or was it 10,000 athletes? But anyway, regardless, they took 10,000 athletes or 1,000 athletes, and they asked them questions as to when they had COVID, how was it like, and they all said it was mild. So the better shape you're in, the better your body's going to fight off COVID, right? But again, they moved mountains to get people in trouble. They moved mountains to get people fired, fines, forced quit, whatever you want to call it. And now they're dropping everything as if the shit didn't happen. A little, a little problematic now that you look at it that way. They go, well, you know what, guys, don't worry about it. It's all good. It's all over. But what about the fucking money that a lot of people just lost or their jobs? You think they're going to change that? Probably not. All right, guys. So moving right along. COVID died in Ukraine. Yeah, Johnny, you're right about that. The virus died with this fucking Ukraine, Russia invasion, whatever you want to call it. So here in New York City, guys, again, crime is out of control. You had a McDonald's worker who was defending the co-worker, according to the article. Defending the co-worker gets stabbed, and I don't think the person died, but still, imagine working at McDonald's. Imagine working at McDonald's and getting shot and stabbed. I mean, bad enough you're working at McDonald's or you know or Burger King or whatever. Then you get stabbed or shot. Like, seriously. Some kid got hit in the head with a hammer the other day, I think in his train station. Uh, a lot of you know about the lady who got the shit. This was last week. Got shit thrown in her face, or smeared in her face. Sorry, but there's way difference between getting thrown at you and smeared. Smeared is more of a real like disrespect, and that's where you take the guy who smeared the shit in your face. You throw him in the train tracks while the train's coming. Um, Different subject altogether, but it seems like the crime is not letting up. And to boot, what's his name? Adams is dragging his feet about getting the street crime guys back on the street. Yeah, I'm not clean shaven for my gas mask. No, not even close. But I had to get rid of it, the beard, because it just wasn't growing in right. After I shaved it down, it just started growing weird. So I'm starting all over again. So, also, guys, now moving forward, sorry, with the crime here in the city, being that it's not going to let up, I don't think it is, and it's not going to let up because you don't have cops doing their thing. Cops are still handcuffed. You have Adams trying to put street crime in, but he's telling street crime, well, you guys can't do X, Y, and Z anymore. So now you're handcuffing the guys. You want to handcuff the criminals, but they can't because, well, they're under such strict rules. I know a lot of people are not a fan of cops, but sometimes you gotta let them fucking, do their job if you want to fight crime. Now, you don't have this problem in other cities, guys, where citizens are allowed to A, fight back, and B, carry guns. When you have those two combinations, you have less crime in the street. When you have a combination like New York, where you can't carry a gun, and if you hit a perp back, the perp can sue you, there's a problem, right? And this is just like if I was to punch a dude in the face. A guy tried to rob me, and I beat the balls off of him, right? I can go to jail for assaulting this guy. Imagine that, right? And this is here in New York, because criminals have more rights than anybody else. So if you lifted those two factors of cops doing their job and citizens beating the balls off of people, then maybe you could absolutely fight crime, and these criminals out here wouldn't feel so entitled. Yeah. So Susan, New York City's going back to the way it used to be, right? And growing up in the city, you're used to that kind of shit, or I was used to it. So now that it's coming back, I'm not so surprised. But then again, it's annoying, right? Nope. No to that request. Anyway, need the USA to stand your ground laws. Yes, the stand your ground laws would be nice, Kitty. That would be awesome. But again, this is New York City. New York City is going to continue to think they're doing the right thing and helping out the city with their asinine rules and regulations and laws. It's bad. Uh, the way Democrats think, they don't think outside the box anymore. They all think inside the box. Sissy May said Putin is building Russia's own internet. They're trying to become really self-reliant. Listen, good for them. But again, they build their own internet. They are going to be completely controlled of what they see, right? What they see, what Russia sees, will undoubtedly be more Russian propaganda. I mean, listen, guys. At least with us, we could still look at what's going on in other countries and go, "Wow, they're getting treated like shit there. Oh shit, they're getting treated bad there." But when you build your own internet and you cut Russia off from the rest of the world, all you're gonna get is propaganda news, right? So interestingly enough, guys, crime is bad. Shit's getting worse overseas. You have the power plant issue right now, Chernobyl rather, sorry, in the Ukraine right now is disconnected from the power grid due to damaged lines inflicted by the Russian occupying forces. This is sparking concerns, obviously, because of radiation contamination if the cooling rods are not cooled. If the cooling, sorry, spent fuel is not stopped. So right now they are heating up because there's no power to keep that cooling pool cool enough to cool down the rods. Sorry. It's a high voltage line, obviously, because that's what it would take. It's disconnected. So nuclear scientists rather explained that there are about 20,000 spent fuel rods stored at the facility right now, constantly being cooled. Without electricity to cool the pumps, the temperatures of the pool will increase, promoting the release of radioactive substance into the environment, which will also infect surrounding countries around Ukraine and as well as Russia. So, right now, the Ukrainian leaders, are asking Russia to stop their shelling and their conflict around Chernobyl so that they can go and fix the lines. Now, high voltage line repair, guys, takes a while. This is not an easy fix. This is not a fast fix. So this would have to be at least a couple of weeks because they would have to replace the whole line, and they would have to get the high voltage line in place. Now, if they have a spool laying around, then that can easily be done. But if they don't, they have to get this shipped in, which can take a couple of days. They got to dig up the ground if it's underground, which can take a couple of days, and replace this thing. So this is absolutely something people should keep their eye on, especially if you live or you have family that live in that side of the world, because this can become a major catastrophe. All right, so we're at 13 minutes. All right, guys. So, all right, forget it. Nothing. I looked at the that little voice monitor thing, and it looked low when I was talking. But forget it. Oh, shit. All right, guys. So, in today's news going on, Dunkin' Donut knockout punch. So, I guess a few months ago, a Dunkin' Donut employee punched a 77-year-old guy in the face for being irate with him and using a racial slur. They didn't say what the racial slur was at any point in the article, which I found weird because usually they say the N-word or, coon or some shit, but they didn't say anything. Regardless, if in fact the guy used a racial slur or not, it was still a win for society because the man knocks him out. The old man, 77-year-old customer, hits his head on the ground, fractures his skull, dies 3 days later. The argument started because the Dunkin' Donut worker, couldn't hear the customer over the shitty speaker system that Dunkin' Donut has out there, which was in Florida, by the way, if I didn't mention that. And the old man gets irate, starts yelling and screaming at the speaker, parks his car, gets out, proceeded to yell at the worker inside. The old man calls him a racial slur, whatever that was. The young kid punches him in the face. Now, the kid was 27, punches a 77-year-old guy in the face. He lands on the ground, cracks his skull, dies. Now, here's the winning part, I say, about this whole thing, is that the 77-year-old, if I might add, was a sex offender, right? He was a registered sex offender, so it was no loss to society. I know at first when I was reading the article, I'm like, this fucking young kid punched this old man in the face, for using a racial slur. I'm like, all right, whatever. It's an old man. I'm not going to punch an old guy in the face for fuck, especially that old. I'm not going to punch an old guy in the face for that. But finding out that he was a registered sex offender, such is life. Fuck, he's as old as I am. And yeah, I get it, guys. And now Doom Rooter goes, oh, okay. And that was the catch. Same thing, man. Doom says I'm dialing it back. Yeah, that was the same thing. I'm reading the article. I'm like, so the kid, after punching him in the face, guy dies. He gets sentenced to 2 years house arrest. So he's not in jail. So there was a lot of factors that added to it. Plus, The one of the major factors of the case was the 77-year-old guy kept getting in the kid's face. So he approached him, and he got in his face, and then the kid said, "Please don't use that slur again." And he didn't say, "Please don't use that slur again." That's what the paper said. The paper said, he said, "Please, sir, don't use that racial slur again." Says no one ever. And the guy said it again. He punched him in the face. Yes, that's my issue with the when they say racial slur, because you can say that, and if in fact the guy did call him a nigger, then they would have stated that as such, right? But they didn't. So when they start using lingo like that, racial slur could be anything these days. You know, it could be Afro man, and they're like, oh, he's making a racial slur. So it could be anything these days. That's why I didn't. But when I got to the bottom of the article and it said he was a registered sex offender, I was like, they should have started with that. They should have led with that from the beginning of the article instead of waiting for all of us who's reading it to get to the bottom, going, fuck him then. Like, no big loss, you know, no big loss at all. I mean, you know, and the fact that he was the aggressor in the entire situation. Plus, Dunkin' Donuts has video cameras in their stores, so they probably watched this whole thing unfold. So again, you know, lesson learned: stop drive-through junk food trips. That too. I mean, we make our own coffee here. We don't ever go to Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts. So, and it was pretty boring in the news this week. I mean, there was probably other shit this week that happened, and I completely ignored because of all the shit that's going on. But oh yeah, and then this was last week though. This was March 2nd. A bunch of school kids in Russia were arrested for demonstrating, for taking an anti-war stance. So apparently, guys, in Russia, as right now as we speak, there is a big protest against the war, against the invasion in Ukraine. We are not hearing it because Russia is not reporting it. The only reporting I'm getting from these protests are actual Russians who are filming this and then I guess sending the videos out to their friends or whatever and trying to post it on Instagram and things like that. But Russia is absolutely stifling the information that comes out of there. They don't want the world to know that even their people are against this invasion. So that again, to me, that's a huge problem. When Russia, first of all, has never listened to the people. Vladimir Putin has been on record saying that we don't listen to the people, we run the government, kind of deal. He's said that in different variations. So he is not for the people. For anybody who thinks that Vladimir Putin is for his people is absolutely wrong. He has said it on numerous occasions that the people don't run the country, the government does. He's gone out his way to stop protesting in different cities throughout Russia because they don't allow it. So, that being said, guys, again, Russia's not a great place to be. Executive order regarding cryptocurrency monitoring. That's not a good thing. I didn't even look at that. I saw something about it earlier yesterday, but I didn't bother reading into it because I think it was just going to aggravate me a little more. And as of right now, guys, Russia is promising another temporary ceasefire, though they didn't withhold ceasefire from the last promise they made, right? So again, Soviets never died. They play dead. Well, it seems like it seems like, too, there's reports of, I don't know how true it is, because this is coming from the Ukraine as well, that there are a lot of Russian soldiers defecting, rather leaving their post and not fighting. I don't know how true that is. That could be more propaganda from Ukraine as well, right? Teresa, Putin's not against the New World Order. He's part of the New World Order. I mean, if you dive into Putin and the connections that he has, you'll see he's part of the New World Order. He's not against it. And the problem with New World Order, guys, is somebody wants to rule. Period, right? Whether it's China, Russia, the actual New World Order elites, somebody wants to rule. China definitely wants to rule as well, right? They're supposedly against the New World Order, but they want to rule. Bad people can't be against bad people without an opportunity for them, right? That's how it works, guys. Bad people don't become good and try to save the world from New World Order if there's nothing in it for them. And what's in it for them? They want to take over. That's what it comes down to, guys. There's no such thing as Russia and China being the good guys all of a sudden, or even us for that matter, the United States. Pretty sure they are looking, guys, here in the United States to lock us down a little bit as they can. Now they realized that they gave us this freedom, that they can't take it away all at once. They tried, and they were met with a lot of fucking pushback. So they're trying a little bit at a time. But with us, it's going to take decades, if not a century, to get there. Whereas Russia and China, they're already there. So they're easily, not manipulated, but they're easily controlled. Now, we are easily controlled, and I have to admit that. We are absolutely easily controlled. Because look at the mask mandates, for example. Here in New York City, guys, the mask mandates are over. You could walk around free again. And yet, people are still in supermarkets and walking in the streets with their fucking mask on. Why? Because they were easily manipulated and easily controlled. And then when they dropped the mask mandates in school, you had teachers saying, or a teacher rather, saying that, we understand that people are scared and that, scared of what? This is the society that was developed over the last 2 years. Pussies. United Americans became pussies. New Yorkers became the biggest pussies because they sat there and said that some people are scared to take their mask off. You scared of what? Some shit that you got a 99% chance of surviving? But that's because they controlled us for the 2 years, guys. And they told us what they wanted to tell us. And we believed every last bit of it. Now people are a little more, and that's why YouTube took the stance that YouTube took, where they were getting rid of misinformation, because they wanted to control what we heard and saw. But they can't, because there's other avenues for us to go and read about. Where in Russia, you don't have those avenues. You have that one news source that you listen to. There's a couple, but they're all being controlled by the state of Russia, right? Or the country of Russia, rather, sorry. But here in New York, it's unreal. It's unreal that I go to the supermarket and out of the anytime the last 2 times I've been in there, sorry, it might have been 5 of us that didn't have a mask on, right? And when you walk in the street, people have their mask on. I don't fucking get it. I don't get it. I don't. So again, guys, it came down to basic control. It came down to, you better put your mask on. You better have your mask on. Please wear a mask. Put a mask on. Wear a mask. And then you're seeing this on TV all day, every day. Every store you walk into, there's a sign. Here in New York, anyway. I know other places it's not as bad. But here in New York, you had signs everywhere. So people, I always forgot my mask. Always forgot it. Left it behind or whatever it was. And more times than not, ended up in a situation where I didn't have it on. But people left their house with their mask, and they never forgot it. Like their phones. Like right now, leaving your phone behind is like, oh my God, what are you doing? The same thing with the mask, guys. You leave your mask behind. Guys are like, people ran back into the house to get it. They got downstairs, they were like, oh my God, my mask. And then they ran back upstairs to get it. I'm like, and this is where it was. So anyway, guys, the simpletons of New York City is asinine. It's just very, very asinine here. It's just, I don't understand the you're free now. You don't have to wear your mask, and people are still carrying on and wearing it. I don't understand it. Not that I don't understand it. I understand it. It's just asinine. Just asinine to still watch people drive around in their cars with their mask on. They built this fear. They created this fear. And what they did now is they're looking and they're going, these people are still wearing their mask. That's good. That's the first step. The control settled in to the majority of the people. Now, I don't know what the percentage of people through New York are that are not wearing their mask versus those who are. I don't know what the percentage is. But when I walk around, I would say it's high. When I go in the stores and supermarkets, it's pretty high. I'm probably one of, again, 5 people who don't have their mask on in any store I go to in the city. Supermarket, that is. Look, listen, even people who are stealing go into the supermarket and put their mask on before they enter. So, again, guys, the brainwashing was almost complete. But then you have those of us who will not comply. Who will never comply. So, that's where it is right now, guys. Anyway, with that, we are almost at the half-hour mark. So, guys, thank you for joining me today. I know it was a bit slow with the news. Everything, man, in the news is Ukraine, 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 Russia, Russia, Russia. Ukraine is innocent, Russia's bad. You know, Russia's innocent, Ukraine's bad. Like it's all fucking just the same shit. Uh, Russia has to turn to its plan B because plan A is not working, which is always a good thing when what you call it like that, when a country like Russia, who everybody thought, including myself, I thought Russia was going to steamroll over the Ukraine. Apparently they can't, which is a good thing. But with that, it's also frustrating Vladimir Putin because he's like, shit, we weren't able to fucking steamroll over this country. But to be fair, guys, when you underestimate your enemy, this is the kind of shit you have. Right? This is the kind of things you run into. And they finally found Shackleton's ship, the Endurance. For those of you that know who Shackleton is, they found his ship off Antarctica, and new images have captured it. So people have actually went out to look for this guy's ship and died trying. Some people never found it and came back cold. Looks like they found the ship Endurance. And this whole time it was underwater. So it wasn't what people thought it was. Might have been frozen in the ice shelf. It was actually underneath. So that's pretty cool. All this time people weren't looking for it. Meanwhile, it was under the water. Right? That's some shit. Anyway, with that being said, guys, thank you for following me today. Thank you for this the support that you guys have been showing, and I will see you guys Friday on the Angry Truths channel at 10:10, and the Angry Prepper channel at 9 o'clock on Friday night. All right, guys. Thank you for watching.